Hello, and you're very welcome to the Town Ed podcast. It's episode 44. Well, it's the end of a dream. Dream of a seventh consecutive final in the Aviva. Gone. Dream of European football. Yeah, probably gone too. It's good to have the old Dundalk back, I think, like we had at the start of the season. To go through tonight's results, we have Pingu here from the limo. Pingu, how are you, pal?
Yeah, disappointed, Chris. It's a tough one to take, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think on the balance of the game, I think it's probably deserved. Is the sad thing about it as well. I think our old skipper done a number on us tonight. He knew how to play against us and hunted in packs. Got the win the ball back in key positions, and some of their passing tonight was fantastic. Like when you think of the second two goals in particular. But yeah, I think you could probably say, did something hinge on, should there been a red card tonight? Jamie Lennon, possible second yellow card, 1-1, would have been a very, very different game if that had have happened. But not to be. What are we going to do? Like when the season ends and we don't go to the Aviva? I'm assuming like a load of Dundalk fans will just go because that's what we do at the end of the year.
Yeah, you probably have to go and support one of the teams from Dublin and just hope. But at this stage, best of luck to St. Pat's. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head over the course of the game. It was the best team probably won tonight. And if any team is going to win the final, you want to be knocked out by the champions, don't you? So you'd hope they'll go on now and win it. But yeah, it's a strange feeling, isn't it? When we've still 4 weeks left of the season in league play and we've nothing to play. Well, survival is what
we're not
play
safe
for,
yet.
Yeah. But we're not chasing any honours. It's been 8 years since we've had that. It's crazy.
It's a strange run, and of course the other side of that is with Waterford going out now, their attention is very much also on league survival. So when you think about the two losing teams in the semi-finals tonight, like their aim now is 100% on league survival and just getting in enough points as soon as you can just to pull away from that relegation playoff position that nobody wants,
Yeah, it was one of them where I was thinking to myself, if we had got a decent result tonight, I was going to say to myself, well, the real game that matters against Pats is on Monday, or was always the game on Monday. But unfortunately, it's going to turn out that is the case. The one that's important to us is to get the result against Pats on Monday and start seeing if we can look up the table again. But it's just, as I've said to you off air, Chris, I don't think Dundalk were terrible tonight. I don't think we were great. It was just one of those kind of like we said it last week. I know you were missing on the pod. You took an off week, but during the Bows game that nothing really happened, and I felt it was quite an open-ended game until Pats got the first goal. They were on top a little bit, and then I think they scored actually a little bit against the run of play at the time. We got back into the game. It was a great finish by Pat. And then it seemed a little bit open-ended again, didn't it? Until Pats kind of got ahead, and I mean that pass and the finish for the second goal was straight out of the last 6 years of Dundalk. It was just a really, really, really good, well executed goal, and it just after that, I mean, I feel like even if they didn't score the third, I think we could have been there for a couple more hours, and I don't think we were going to score a goal again. After that.
Before we descend into the peak six conversation, which was inevitable after tonight, we'll just quickly talk about the game and then we'll move into matters of ownership, I think. But if people want to continue to just put in their comments and we'll get to them as part of that discussion. I mean, Pingu, if we go back to the game tonight, like we started quite lively. Sean Murray got himself into some real good positions. He was very unlucky. He was probably a little bit too honest to stay on his feet at 0-0 as well. And, I think he was just outside the box, but, you would have been looking for the referee to make a decision of, was it in, was it not in, last man back? There's a few permutations to go through there, but he decided to stay up on his feet and the ball went into the side night. And so we started quite bravely. We were on the front foot, but I think I feel sorry for Sloggett for the opening goal because the ball goes out for a throw in. We look like we're in complete control here, and it's just, I don't know if he took his eye off the ball or just didn't meet it with the connection that he wanted, and the ball just kind of presented right there for Billy King then. And look, it's a good finish. I think Cherry, to me, when I seen the replay back, it looked like he assumed that we had a throw in, went over to maybe dry his gloves on a towel or something, and then looked up and realized that King was coming straight for him, and it was completely out of position then at that stage. How did you see it?
Yeah, I think you look at Sloggett and it's one of those like are they practicing? Practicing. There's the American coming at me now. Are they training? Are they training in Oriel at the minute? Sorry, Chris, is there a bit of feedback there with you?
No,
I'm here.
Just the American.
Hold on there a second.
You're right.
Let's see, is that better?
We're all good.
Perfect. Yeah, no. If they're training at Oriel, your foot stops, your foot sticks on the AstroTurf, and I don't know, maybe if the grass, if his foot went from underneath him, I'm not too sure, but I think as we looked at that, it was a poor touch from him. Ball went through, as you say, Cherry might have been cleaning his gloves or something, but I mean, when I look back at the replay, it just had that reminder for me of do you remember Delaney down in Cork a few years ago where Cherry was massively out of position and went back, and Cherry was almost in that exact same position. So this time, at least he done well to get across the goal. But it's, we've given Peter a lot of praise last week, especially. He got a lot of praise during the game against Bows and for coming in. He is still liable for those kind of mistakes. Thankfully, that was the only one he made tonight. That was the only error kind of judgment. But it did just look like he maybe switched off for a second or two, and unfortunately, by the time he got all the way across his goal, he couldn't get back down to dive into the middle of a four. But it balanced itself out because the Pats defender made a mistake later on in the game. To open up patching, and it was a great run, as I said it a little bit ago from Pat, just to kind of split the two defenders. And again, the form he's in the last 6-7 weeks, you knew as soon as he got in 1v1 with the keeper, it was only going to go one place.
And that's, I mean, like, if we even just talk about Pat's form of late, we needed some players to step up. And, I think you mentioned it before, any criticism we had of Pat or any of the players, it's only because we know they can play better and we want them to play better. But, like his form, I think that's his 9th goal of the season as well. When you consider how poor we've been playing at times this year, it's quite a record for him. And to continue that on, I suppose, we need that till the end of the season, that sort of form, that sort of striker's instinct, to try to get us as far up the table as we can. But look, that part can only be, I suppose, confident boosting for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can only eat humble pie here and say I've made no bones about being so critical of Pat, but I mean, the last 7 weeks he's been the top striker in the league, and we talked last week obviously about Georgie Kelly getting the Player of the Month award, and Pat has every right to feel, and Dundalk fans have every right to feel aggrieved that Pat didn't get it, and he proved again tonight, a week after he went off in the first half of a match, and he looked sharp tonight. And I think that the biggest thing for me is, and again this is the part that I've been critical of, his work rate over the last 7 weeks has just gone up a notch. It's gone up a couple of notches. I just think that for me, as I say, is the biggest thing. He's working really, really hard for the team, and he's trying to get in these spaces. And as I say, it was a fantastic goal. It was well worked, and it was at that point. What was it? 41 minutes, 42 minutes when we scored.
Like that, yeah. It was only a couple of minutes time, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of expected like that change as both managers have 19 talks, that goal, and I was expecting us to kind of come out of the traps in the second half, and it was. I don't think we played badly at the start of the second, but I just think it was, again, it went back to just being an open game. I was hoping we would have kind of went on the front foot at the start of the second half, and we just in the second half, I feel like we just didn't really get going.
We did a couple of wee things. So, I'm thinking back to, Yaros pulled off a good save from from patching, they tipped it over the bar at 2-1. But it all kind of seemed like those towards every so often that Pats team just looked like they could, for their second goal, for instance, just make a real incision of a pass that, like that first time ball for their second goal is just, the weight of it, everything is just absolutely perfect, and the finish is exceptional as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the finish was put in the one spot that Cherry couldn't get to. You know what I mean? Like I heard Jerry O'Brien saying on commentary on LOI TV that he put the ball in the one spot you want to, and it's a very tight angle and very tight spot to get it into. So I think it was a brilliant goal. But yeah, every time after that first goal that they broke, and I think I put it in our group chat in the first half after they scored, I said, like, every time they get into our final third of the field, there was just something about that Pat side. You just fancied them to get something was going to come off sooner rather than later, and it just made me nervous, every time they got in, and for the second goal, obviously, if for anyone that was watching LOI TV, the lads were quite critical of Leahy, and I feel like he could do a little bit better defensively. We know what he's got going forward, but you just kind of stood off that lad, and just let him. I mean, with a burst of pace like that, you're gonna get in, aren't you? And it's it's just
funny though. It's funny though, because Pats with no, like, they don't have a recognized target man at the club. Like their goals seem to be fairly shared around. I think their top goal scorers in around eight goals each or something like Forrester.
Forrester's the top scorer, isn't he?
Yeah. So it's strange that when you look at how they played tonight, and the passing and the positions that they can put people in for goal scoring, it's so surprising that whether Coughlin or somebody could have really grasped that striker spot for them and nailed it down, because you think there's plenty of assists there for you if they had a target man, if they had a Hubin or they had a McMillan. Like there's a potential of a 20 goal striker there, isn't there?
Oh yeah, well, again, we were saying off camera, like, Pat 100% remind me of Dundalk of the last 6-7 years. Just how they moved the ball. When they went to goal up, they were able to just drop back a little bit, and they were able to sit in and make it difficult for us. When the game opened up, when we got the equaliser, they kind of opened up again. They were able to kind of go through the gears and able to change how they played. And I mean, if rumours that are going around are true about Pat potentially going there next year, like, he could be the final piece of the puzzle for them. The difference between them winning a cup, winning a league title, he could be definitely the difference. But it shows how far we've fallen and how far they've risen over the last couple of years, or over the last couple of seasons since Davey's gone in there. That it's almost a flip of, as I say, we weren't awful tonight. We weren't great. We were just kind of middle of the pack, which Pats have been for the last couple of years. And Pats were just, towards the end of the match, I mean, we couldn't even touch the ball. They were just passing it around for fun. It looked for the last 8 minutes they were going to.
That third goal really comes from that, though, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Like some of the passing in between and everything, front to back, like, it was exceptional football.
Yeah. And I mean, look at Vinny when he brought on Davy Mack. I think he went and he wanted to go a little bit more direct, which I can't really blame him for when you're chasing the game like that. There, you have to play a little bit more direct. But I mean, with the form Paddy Barrett was in as well, next Dundalk player tonight, at centre half, he was just cleaning them up every chance he got. He was just cleaning up every high ball that went into the box. It just seemed that Pats had it covered, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you mentioned it there at the start as well. So obviously with Bows winning tonight as well, it's an all Dublin final for yourself now, as we can talk about it, that we're no longer involved. Who would you fancy now for the Cup, I suppose, this year?
I suppose, having watched both teams over the last 2 weeks with Bows and Pats, I just, you can't write off Bohemians. You can't write them off no matter what. But I just really like. I think personally, Pats are probably the best football inside in the league. And I take that over. I would take how they play the game over how Rovers play the game. So if they play like they did tonight, I could only see one winner. But again, I'm just going to jump back on the fence because I don't really want to. I don't want to write off Bows either.
Yeah, the only thing I will say for Bows is, like, for them going to the Aviva, it's not an intimidation of getting used to the environment and everything like that. They showed with their European football this year that they're more than comfortable on that stage and that size of a pitch in that sort of an arena with fans and everything else. The only thing that they won't be used to would be, I suppose, any sort of opposition fans and how that can be like. So, it depends on what end they get, the noise and everything else. It's going to be a little bit of a different environment towards, I suppose, when they had the Aviva with restrictions and stuff like that. It was all just Bows fans. It's encouragement when you're playing well. It's easy to pull off the crowd, but now you're going to have, a 50-50 crowd. It'll be a different environment for them, but they know the Aviva fairly well this year,
Yeah, and I think,
and then Georgie Kelly factor of, we were just talking about, if only Pats had that strike, Bows have that striker. And you think of, the Ross Tierney's and everyone behind him who can, Burton that, who can pull out passes and play exceptional football too. I think it's actually going to be a good attacking final. There's potential there.
It might be a final with goals. That could be a weird one as well. Dundalk aren't in it, and there's actually goals scored in it, so it could be it could be one of those. But I take that point, and I think Georgie's obviously got a bit of motivation considering how he done with Pats when he went on loan last year as well. But again, you've got a manager who's a serial winner in Stephen O'Donnell. You've got Ian Birmingham, who I think, I could be mistaken, but I think he played with Pats the last time they won the cup. And he was playing with them when they won the league. Yeah, and I think he won the league title in 2012. Was it 2012 they won the league?
Yes, yeah.
12 or 13 when they won the league. I think he was playing with them then. So you've got that little bit of experience around the club. Alan Matthews in there as well. To the best of my knowledge, I don't know if Keith Long has won much. I know Trevor Crowley's in there, who's won a lot. So it makes for an interesting final, and it makes it all the more annoying that we're talking about two clubs that aren't Dundalk FC on our Dundalk podcast. But it's.
I think it's fair though. It's fair to give the teams the two dues who do get to the final. And I'm glad we're not sitting here berating it. A one decision that potentially could have put us out of the cup, and or one bad keeping decision. Like, we had plenty more in the game. Even though Cherry made that mistake, we still had plenty more in the game to get ourselves back in, and we did. And we put ourselves out there fairly well in the first half in particular. I think second half, I'm not too sure we really turned up, and we probably got the result we ended up deserving out of it. So look, I think you just have to sometimes hang your hat and say, screw you, football. No, you're right. It's one of those. Yeah, as you say, we've got to give credit to both teams, and it'll for the neutral, they'll be happy to see two different clubs playing in it. And for ourselves, 6 finals in a row, it's exceptional as well. Like I often said, there's kids up and down this town who all they have ever known is at the end of the season we go to the Aviva to play a final. We'll look back at this time, I'm sure, with fond memories and going, do you remember when we were in every single final for 6 years? It's absolutely ridiculous. Nobody has a right to be in a final, yet alone to be in 6 of them. So it says a lot about how we were as a team, and you think about the different types of players and everything we've had in and out of there, and yet somehow there's consistency of a final across varying managers, various different players and stuff like that. It was a hell of a run. I suppose it had to come to an end at some stage.
Yeah, well, look, it's you've got kids that don't know any different, not just people that are used to the finals. You've got kids that have never not been around when Dundalk FC are in cup finals, which this is good for them now. This is going to lower their expectations. They're gonna know what it's like to actually be a Dundalk fan after this year. For all of us who've suffered for years. But it's a weird one. But look at with the season we had 2 months ago, 3 months ago, were we expecting to get to a cup semi-final? I don't think so.
No.
So that kind of we just have to move on, don't we? We've got more important things. I see someone saying we can get revenge on Pats Monday night.
Mark Carlin there.
I think Mark's right. In fairness, as I said earlier, I thought jokingly I was going to say that Monday was the one that mattered, but it really does. We have to go out on Monday. We have to dust ourselves down. We know how Pats are going to play. They're going to have tired legs. They had tired legs at the end of the game tonight. So you would hope we'll get a chance to get 3 points on Monday. I'd still be hopeful after that game, despite the scoreline. I don't think there was much in it between two teams. So I'd still be quietly confident that we could get some sort of result against them.
Yeah, well, I think after Pat's recent results and that as well, probably tonight's game meant more to them because it's getting to a final. They've zero chance of winning the league, so probably dropping points or anything like that, it won't make as big a deal. Will the players be up for it on Monday like they were tonight? I don't think so either. So probably like yourself and Mark were saying there, we probably have a better chance on Monday, and that's probably more important to us to go and get the 3 points, put this whole relegation thing, distance ourselves as far away from that as we can to the relegation playoff. I suppose, Pingu, look, most of the questions and everyone texting in at the moment is all about Peak 6 and where this puts us. Do you want to chat about that, or actually, will we do it? Man of the match competition tonight?
Yeah, we could do man of the match tonight, and then if you want, we could do the interview with Jerry, and then and then we could chat kind of after about Peak 6 and stuff after.
Okay. But if people want to, there's a couple of messages in already for our man of the match competition tonight. So if people want to continue with their messages in for that at the end of the show, then we will pick a winner out for a 15-inch pizza from Tony's Pizzeria, who've been our sponsors all year long. And we've seen plenty of people with their winning pizzas, and not one has offered to send any of it our way, I've noticed. But sure, it might be a bit cold by the time we get to you, to be fair, Pingu.
I know, I still wouldn't complain about it though.
The gesture, isn't it? Yeah, it's
Exactly,
the gesture. Yeah. More than anything. Well, look, yesterday, because I suppose Jerry was at the game tonight, he gave up some time for a cell. So if people don't know, Jerry is the vice chairman of the 1903 Dundalk Supporters Club. So earlier this week, they had put out a open letter back to Dundalk Football Club, basically because when they set up the meeting, our first public meeting for the supporters club, nobody from the club turned up to the event or has been in contact with them since. So between this, I suppose, the supporters club and the importance of the supporters club with everything that's going on, these are the questions we put to Jerry. So we're going to play this interview for you now, and then we'll come back after that. We'll have a little chat about the supporters club. We'll have a little chat about the ownership of the club then as well. So joining us on this segment is Jerry Lennon. So Jerry is the vice chairman, am I right in saying, Jerry, for the 1903 Dundalk Supporters Club. How are you?
Good, Chris. Thanks very much for having me on.
Not at all. Look, Jerry, I suppose there was two main reasons for bringing you on. You know, we've had chatted to Lee previous about this when we were just getting registration up and running for the 1903. So where are we currently with the supporters club with regards to numbers?
Yeah, we were heading up towards the 300 mark at this stage, Chris. We had a very successful first sort of open collection session at the last game at Oriel. That was our first time sort of on the ground trying to, get people to sign up. And we had up on 40 more people come out as a result of that, both on the night and afterwards online. So we were very happy with that. So we're moving in the right direction. Obviously, the more people we can get, we feel the better in the current climate. But I think for a new group, from my recollection of previous supporters clubs, I think that sort of figure between 250 and 300 is pretty good at this stage.
Yeah, definitely. Jerry, just when you mentioned that, you're actually on the ground at the last fixture there with a registration table.
because previous to this, it's all been an online version, I suppose. We were registering online for it all, but to actually sit down and maybe meet people face to face, I mean, it's something we've all been missing, let's say, in the current climate as well. So it must have been good to just be able to talk to supporters as well who came up to have a chat with you. You know, some people might just have a couple of questions before joining or whatever. It was just good to actually have that opportunity to chat, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, of course, you know, there's people out there who don't necessarily have technology or the access to get online or pay online or whatever. So it was good. There was people who actually sought us out, you know, to go out of the way. There was others who didn't know we existed and, you know, were interested and said, yeah, look, we'll think about it, whatever. So hopefully over the last few games that we have in the season, we'll try and be there again, weather permitting and everything else. And you know, we everyone's welcome. There's you know, we just want people to be in a position that hopefully going forward we'll have some sort of a voice and a role in the overall development of the club. And you know, the main reason that Brendan, God help him at the time when he was, you know, he was out of frustration and anger a few months ago. One of the big, you know, projects that we'd like to work with here is development of a better infrastructure, a stadium, that sort of thing. That's a long term goal. But you know, if we have to start somewhere, and you know, obviously there's a lot of uncertainty out there about and within the club at the moment, and we don't have any great say in that at the minute, but who knows, things could change over the next couple of months, hopefully, and you know, we'll see where it goes.
I mean, Jerry, that's really, in essence, the really important part to have a supporters club, because it's, no matter what happens with regards ownership or wherever that goes in the market, to have this foundation of a large group of supporters, no matter what, whose only interest is keeping Dundalk Football Club going and improving it, like that, it's so important. It's something we've been missing for a long time, isn't it?
It is, because traditionally the supporters club in Oriel Park was part of the running of the club, was part of the support network of the club, and was a big part of the fundraising for the club. And I'm going back, you know, I was previously involved late 80s, sort of into the most of the 90s. And prior to that, going back even into the 60s, 70s, there was some fantastic people and committees who were the mainstay of the club, because directors can come and go and owners can come and go, but supporters club, obviously the people there can change, but if you have a structure and you have a good network of people there, the fundraising that was involved, and at that time the bar, of course, was run as a members bar, so this, you know, the funds that went through the bar were crucial to the club. Now, obviously, that all changed some years ago when the ownership was taken over by private individuals, you know, for want of a better description, or private companies. And of course, there was still a strong voluntary aspect, and technically you could call it a supporters club. There are people who were manning the gates, manning the shops, working in the different roles around the club on match day. But the structure of a supporters club seemed to have fallen away in the last, you know, 10 or 15 years. So we felt it was important to try and get something back in place, because of just the way I suppose we could see the club going, and the lack, a lot of the people who had been volunteering and getting involved in recent years and had done fantastic work under really tough, busy circumstances when we had lots of European games and big league games, everything going on. Those people started to to fade away or be pushed away in the last couple of years. So it was a concern, and we felt that was something that we should be trying to just to bring back the community feel and the keep the local element involved if at all possible, and to give people a way of feeling that they were together other than just on a match night. But also we wanted to be there if the worst came to the worst in relation to how the club moved forward with owners. If there was a potential that, an owner was to just, move on and perhaps leave, a very difficult situation like we had some years before. So we were better, we felt, to be prepared a little bit for that. So therefore, I think, Brendan and a number of other people got together 4 or 5 months ago, and the 1903 was born out of that.
Yeah. And then to bring it forward, like we had our first public meeting, I was in attendance as well as yourself, and a few opportunities, I suppose, to come onto the board like yourself and that came up, and people were put forward. But obviously the big thing that we all took from that was the invite for the club, that nobody was able to turn up that night on behalf of the club. Since then, am I right in saying, Jerry, the committee members have met and had a discussion, and as a result of that, we've seen earlier this week a letter released by the 1903 committee about that situation. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. We had hoped, I think Brendan explained on the night of the public meeting, that we had expected to have somebody representing the owners making at least a video discussion with us or something. So at the last minute, that seemed to have fallen through. It was disappointing, but so be it. It's what happened. We had hoped that they would have perhaps come forward later on to, if you like, explain or to keep the connection there, but that didn't happen. And so we wrote to them seeking a direct link, a direct meeting or something. We didn't even get really an acknowledgement of the letter. We left it for nearly 2 weeks for them to respond, and we didn't really get anything of note. There was maybe some soundings from some people who are involved at the moment in the club, but certainly nothing that was formal enough that we'd consider it a direct response. So we've come out and we've said, how I suppose we could easily say disappointed, but it went beyond disappointment. We felt it was disgusting the way that they just ignored it. Like, I mean, the supporters are ultimately what the club runs for. It's what everybody connects to the club, and the match day experience is fantastic up there at the moment. Since the support came back this season, the shed and the atmosphere has been just brilliant over there. Okay, there's been a few people who haven't been happy with the smoke bombs and the stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They do give a fantastic atmosphere, and as long as they're sort of done in a controlled manner and at least in a safe way, and that they're not being thrown about or anybody's put at risk. They do give a fantastic atmosphere. The lads in the shed, everybody, it's the great thing too is there's lots of ladies, there's lots of gents, there's everybody in there. The singing, mm-hmm. the chanting, the atmosphere is just magical when it all kicks off. So for the owners to sort of then just ignore that sort of aspect of the town and of the people who pay the money to get in, We were really disappointed with that, and we made that clear in our statement afterwards. Now, look, the lines of communication we hope are still open, and we would hope maybe they will respond. But the season's ticking away at this stage, and we just wanted a means of seeing if there was anything that we could all come together mutually, and was there something that could be done. But as it stands at the minute, the owners have decided to not engage with us. So we just have to wait and see how that one moves.
Yeah, it's really disappointing, Jerry, because I think the main thing that was, I suppose, kind of annoying a lot of supporters this year was the lack of community involvement from this club, because, in particular, people like yourself who's been supporting this club so long know how important the club is to the community and what the community gives back to the club. And it's really vice versa, isn't it? And that's the whole thing. But for the owners do not want to engage with a large group of supporters whose only love is for the club, it's quite baffling, isn't it?
It's strange, Chris, because you'd have thought it's in everyone's interest to be running together as much as possible. Now, I know everybody has the vested interests, if you like, and maybe it's simply a reflection of something that's in the background, and that maybe that there's stuff happening that we're not party to, and they may have the reasons. But at least they should have acknowledged that. They should have just simply said, we don't feel this is just the time that we can meet or we can discuss anything with you. That would have been the sort of straight up and mannerly thing to do, but they didn't do that. So we have to take it at face value. But we're hoping that they may still reconsider. We don't know, obviously, if Peak Six are going to be involved next season. Who will be involved? We don't. That was also part of the whole getting the club together. Will there even be a football club next season if no owners are out there? If Peak Six decide to walk away next week, end of season or whenever, will somebody come in? Will they allow somebody to take over? So there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's not only. I'm conscious of the fact that it's the fans obviously are concerned, but we have to consider too, like, players and management staff, etc. It's a livelihood that's involved for some of them, and while it's we get a kick out of paying our 10 or 15 quid every week and going up to see the games, to them it's a life and it's an income, and we have to be conscious of that too. So it's just not a simple thing that we can all walk away from, but let's that something is happening and that something good will come. This that we're at the ultimate low point now.
But the only way is up, Jerry.
Well, that's what I've been hoping for the last while. But we're, as I say, the season's coming to a close. We've only got 4 or 5 more weeks, and if we have a cup final, well, fantastic. That's something to look forward to. But you'd like to know at this stage, and I'm sure players and would too, where it stands, who is going to be there. So it's just rumor and guesswork at the moment, but hopefully something will become clearer over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. And then, Jerry, I suppose just going back to the supporters club then finally, have we anything else on the horizon coming up? Will there be another public meeting, do you think, fairly soon, maybe at the end of the year, to see where we are? Or is there 1 or 2 more projects before the season end?
Yeah, look, we're hoping to keep the recruitment campaign up. We want people to join. We want people to feel that they will have a say going forward, because I'd like to think that maybe if the current owners aren't interested in engaging with us, that if there is potential new owners out there, that they will see the 1903 as a means of keeping the fans together, getting everyone in together, and perhaps harnessing some means of, the goal, as I say, one of the big goals that we had as part of setting up the 1903 was a stadium project. And you can't do that. One side can't do it on their own. We need everybody on board. And I don't think there's any fan or supporter out there who wouldn't like to see a new stadium or a redeveloped stadium or whatever it's going to be. But that's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of support, sponsorship, or whatever it'll be. We there was a committee mooted, and there was people named some months ago, but we haven't heard a thing. I think some of the people have moved on already. So that's one of the things I think, the more people we get on board, the more people, the more strength we have. It's obviously strength in numbers. It's like any group or organization. So if we can get, more and more people involved, and we can get people to have a role and a say, we can expand, the ideas. And yeah, we will hopefully have another meeting. Whether we'll have it this side of the new year, I can't say at this point, Chris. But
yeah,
we, as a committee, I mean, we have a great, committee of people there. Everybody playing a role, everybody involved. Some there's the people who have worked from the beginning in it, and have put together the website and the technology side of it. Lee McConville and people like that, Andrea before that involved, the people dealing with the money, that all of these people, and a couple of us have only come in really in the last few weeks, but we all have one goal, and that's to better Dundalk Football Club and keep it alive. Obviously, is the immediate goal. So I'd like to think if there's new potential owners out there, that they won't see us as a threat, that they will see us as an asset going forward, that we will be there to assist in whatever way we can, and to, as I said, if there's a means of bringing everybody together again as a community-based club. And I think we've seen over the last couple of years that you need a local involvement, you need a local structure there. I'm not sure that this absentee landlord system is going to work, so there'll be skepticism if something else comes into place that's similar. So I don't know. I'd like to think that we could get the people who understand Dundalk, understand League of Ireland football, and that everybody can work together on that basis. And of course, we've a long way to go this season still. We're not safe from relegation. No. We could win the cup, we could stay up, a lot could happen, but there is the potential risk that we could go down. So that's something none of us really wants to contemplate, but we can't rule that out. And if that happens, obviously, you're going to see a completely different type of club probably next season, no matter who the owners are. So we need everybody to be ready to get dug in again and to carry on, in whatever way we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Jerry, I just want to thank you so much for giving your time tonight as well. And I suppose if anyone has any further questions or any of that, it's the 1903.ie is the website address. Am I right? Yeah,
that's it. And you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on most of the social media platforms. I'm not on all of them myself, but even just contact the club, contact we're at the games now, hopefully, as I say, for the next couple of home games when they come up, and if anybody is interested, it's €24 currently. We will look at trying to bring in different sort of pricing for OAPs
like different
and
tiers or
juniors and
something.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. But our initial, we just wanted to get set up originally, so we went with €2 a month. It's not a fortune, and I know there's somebody has floated an idea today of a type of a supporters group, being maybe involved in ownership of the club going forward in a partnership with somebody new. So and it seems like a few £100 could possibly have an owner's 50% stake or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So you'd like to be able to, as I said, to have the structure there and have as many people there that you can have the meetings and do the stuff. So €2 a month, it's not a fortune, as I say, and hopefully people will see that, and pay it, and your year will roll through. You get 12 months whenever you join, and let's hope we have a successful end of season and that we still have a decent club there next season.
Can't ask for much more than that, Jerry. Thanks so much for your time again. And like we said to Leon before, and I said it to Brendan as well, you guys are more than welcome on this platform at any time as well. There's always a place for you, and we'll put some of the details for the supporters club in the description for the show tonight. Jerry, thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Chris. All the best.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
I'm on the turn.
Yeah, and a big thank you to Jerry for giving us the time for that interview yesterday, Pingu. Just so people don't get confused, I think I got changed very, very quickly during that. And thanks to Brendan Ogle as well for helping us set that up. Steph, how are you, pal?
Shite.
See, we done 15-20 minutes of this therapy at the start. I feel cleansed from it all, Pingu. Do you? From the results?
Yeah. Hey, Stefan, how are you, pal?
Hi, Dean. How's things?
Great. Now that you're on, mate.
Jesus. Yeah, look, we'll just get past the match.
Yeah, I need to get.
We'll just get past it.
Give us we missed you.
Give us a bit of top line from it, Steph. What did you think?
Wasn't our night. I don't think we were good enough anyway. So they took their chances when they came along, and we just seemed wide open. Any chance they came forward, I was a bit fearful they were gonna score every time they came forward. Even looking at the equaliser or the second goal for them to put them ahead, we just they came down the right, and then Stanton played a nothing ball into the middle, which they picked up. Now, in fairness, it was a decent ball, a true ball, but Cleary's just caught in the blind side. He's the striker runs in behind him, and he doesn't know where he is, and he's lost. Then, just disappointing. I think we come to expect to be up in the final every season now. So it's just a killer blow, isn't it?
Yeah, 6 seasons in a run is a hell of a record, though.
Yeah, look, it was going to come to an end sometime, but yeah, we were just hoping it wasn't this season after all the disappointments. I know we had a bit of a run in Europe, but if we had got to the group stages there or so, but look, it's just one of them things. And I don't know, just a few people saying Vinny Perth staying in the pitch at the end, you don't know if that could, sort of signs like that, you don't know if that's his last game maybe as well. You don't know if he's going to be out the door soon.
Yeah, I mean, look, I suppose this kind of puts us into a little Pingu of what Jerry was talking about on that. To go back even to the interview, he's saying, they're in around the 300 mark, maybe more than that. They were getting a lot of the walk-up subscriptions at the last few home games there, where people could actually interact with them to get it. It's been floated this week. I think it was Frank Harlan kind of put it out there that if there was a potential new owner to come in, could the supporters club have some sort of a say in this and stump up a bit of money? Now you're talking, it could be a couple of hundred put forward per member, I suppose, of the supporters club. What's your thinking on that, Pingu?
I think his idea in theory is very good, but I think it's a bit premature to be thinking that the 1903 would be capable of doing it right away. And that's no disrespect to everyone that's involved, but they're only a newly founded group. They're not even 6 months old. So I think they need to structure, and if there's people that are potentially taking over that are local to Dundalk FC, the supporters club needs to formulate a plan and go to them and say, this is how we want to partner with you. This is what we want to do. And I think when we look back on when Andy and Paul took over, and the lads that were involved in the trust got involved in different capacities back then, but the trust was long established at that point. So I do think Frank has a good idea on his hands there, but I just think right now it might be a little bit premature to be throwing that idea out. And I'd say if the lads involved in the committee spoke openly and honestly, they'd probably say the same, because as you know, from when we had the Lily White Supporters Club, there's a lot of work goes into these committees. So to think about forming a committee, forming a supporters group, and then taking over a club off within a year, like it's...
Yeah, I think it was only in conjunction with another owner. We would have a say, I suppose, on a board from the start of a project, rather than as it currently is with Peak 6, where we're completely frozen out.
Yeah, I think, Jerry or Brendan Ogle or something like that, I think and we said this way back, I think at the start of the year on a podcast when the kind of stuff around supporters groups was being discussed. I don't think it's unreasonable to have the chairman of the supporters group be a sitting member of the board. They don't even have to be a voting member. If the owners have 100% ownership of the club, they can just be a sitting board member and just be able to throw ideas out there. You know what I mean? Because owners groups, look, we've seen this with Peak 6 and we've seen it with owners in the past, even before the predate the Peak 6 era. They don't always know what the supporters want or what's going on, So I think having someone from the supporters group on the committee, on the board of the club, I think that would be a good first start. Yeah. But I just don't see a 50-50 right now being viable.
Yeah. Steph, involvement of a supporters group, if there is a takeover from a new group, how important do you think that would be?
Yeah, I think like Jerry mentioned it, like the supporters club has the best interests of the club at heart. So look, I don't think it'll do much harm if you had someone involved, even just for the line of communication. Even if there wasn't any say, if they could just, give the ideas forward, that the owners, they could take them or leave them. But if the communication was open and everything was, more clear, because there's zero communication now at the minute. So fans, there's nothing coming from the club, so you don't know whether the owners are selling up. You're getting different conflicting articles in newspapers saying they're selling, they're not selling, they're staying. The manager's agreed a new contract, he hasn't signed it yet. You're hearing mixed messages because there's no direct line of information coming from the club. So like if they know directly what the fans thinking is, then they can act on that. Whether they go with it or not, at least the fans know where they stood. Now everyone's sort of in limbo at the minute, and it's probably the worst place to be in. Like if we knew that the club was actively looking to sell, then at least you could.
I lost you for a second there, Steph. You're on full flow, and I was with you. Then you froze, but it sounded good.
Yeah. I got froze out there. Danny O'Connell was interfering with my Wi-Fi. Yeah.
What I was going to say, Steph, is that kind of ties into, I suppose this week we've seen a piece in the newspaper from, I think it was Paul Lennon, had written that apparently there's a price tag of 2 million being put onto Dundalk Football Club. And I think if you take that in the context of what happened in a game tonight, without European money now, surely the value of the club can't be 2 million.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that was put out there a couple of weeks ago when we started to pick up a bit of form, and we were on the cup run as well. I'm not sure where that sort of came from. I think, was there something along the lines where Peak Six bought the club for 2 million, was it? And they were just looking to.
I think it's muted that initially, it's all speculation as well that was the original buyout of Andy and Paul, and were they just looking to recoup that? I mean, if they wanted to just they could have just maybe used the budget better this year instead of giving away silly wages on players who were unproven in the league. They probably could have saved the money there and then just lowered the cost of the club. Probably made more sense.
Yeah, look, we're blue in the face saying what happened. The fears were there from pre-season, even though pre-season was about 1 week long. We sort of put it out there that this is a massive gamble, and then you're taking in players and inflated wages for one season that's going to have no value to the club. So the logic of it, I couldn't see any. But look, it hasn't panned out too well for us, so it's just going to be an interesting couple of weeks and months ahead, and hopefully the best I don't know, the best plan comes forward for the club.
Pingu, we're just talking about Paul Lennon's piece in the newspaper this week. This 2 million price tag, surely that's put that to bed now. You can't be looking for 2 million for a club who's not in Europe, who is somewhere in mid-table, and majority of its best assets, you would say, possibly could be stripped away from the club and gone to other clubs.
Yeah, I mean, 2 million is all the Peak Six wants for it. But you can be sure that they're probably going to want whoever comes in to take over the debt. And the last we heard, the debt was at 1.8 million or something like that. So I can't see them.
Yeah, it's been muted at being considerably higher than that.
Yeah, so I can't see that being. I just 2 million just seems a bit outlandish. I mean, I had heard a couple of months back they were looking for 4 million originally. So if they've come down now, you would anticipate
is that 2 million with the debt?
That's included. Well, you'd be taking over the debt, I would think, as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Is that yen or euro?
It's US euro.
Say it is, Steph. It's all right.
Yeah. Jesus.
But yeah, it's. I just think it's crazy. At this point, I think it's crazy. Especially because obviously the news came out this week that they've made a minor investment as well in Wolverhampton. They've got Monaco, and then in the same article, was it the same article of Paul Lennon that they said they were still committed to Dundalk? I seen there was an article this week that said this after the Wolves news, they still have a commitment long term to Dundalk Football Club. So it's just madness, isn't it? It is, yeah. But I think after tonight's result, that price tag might change. It wouldn't surprise me if that changes.
Well, Steph, I'll put it to you this way: was the whole Peak Six model not based on European football each year, as it goes? So now that cycle has been broken, is it it's not surely an attainable model anymore?
Yeah, well, look, I think they've attracted the international players with the lure of European football. But without that next season, there's going to be no, I don't know. You're talking about trying to attract players to the club, but the good players we have at the minute have either gone or they're going. So, without talking about off the field stuff, just on the field, it's just
it's a massive investment.
Another mess. If the way are committed, yeah, you're starting from scratch basically. If a new person comes in, fair enough, but it looks like if Peak Six stay on, they're starting from scratch again.
Yeah.
It's just crazy considering the players and the position we were in. It's mind blowing to think where we've come from and where we are right now.
I think that's the most disheartening thing about the whole thing, though, isn't it? Like, for us to be in this situation this year, it didn't need to be. There's a lot of, it seems, gut reactions and untested players brought in who we didn't know how they might react in this league or anything like that. And it was a lot of gambles. When you think about, if you gamble that much, it only takes one thing to go wrong to derail the whole season. And it just seemed like, unfortunately, we got a plethora, including a pandemic as part of that as well. Like, it's just, if things could have gone wrong, they did go wrong over the past 18 months anyway, for Dundalk Football Club. And it's funny, we were saying over the past few weeks that the good vibes and everything coming from Oriel Park, the tension seemed to die down a little with regards, as we were previously with protests and everything else, Steph. Towards then, it was, last week it was just back to, banner protests and that sort of way. Tonight, on a lot of the comments, it's, Peak 6 out. This is how we're going to get rid of Peak 6. Who can we get in there? Peak 6. This has to be the turning point for Peak 6 to go. Either way, whether his result was good or not, at least we can get rid of Peak 6. This is pretty much Peak 6 out. This is pretty much all the comments tonight. It's now turned. People have just turned their anger back to Peak 6 again, and I think this is there's probably no return from this though, Steph. I think if they were here next year, I don't know how much of a commitment or want they would have to still be here next year. Yeah,
just going back, like you're saying, anything that could have gone wrong went wrong, but a lot of that again is self-inflicted. Like you're talking even about the running of the club, and then like there's the volunteers who knew the club inside out, the running of it day to day. We're all told, we don't really need you now. So, and then obviously the recruitment of the players was poor as well, and you're always going to have I was fearful after we went out of Europe, going, are the players really gonna make a reaction to this, try and salvage something from the league, and the league form just took a nosedive, and we were in massive trouble for ages. It sort of picked up again when the cup started back. When the cup came back, then we sort of seen an upturn, and we sort of just went off momentum for a while, and it was great. But you were sort of papering over the cracks a little bit. Like the potential of that side, down to its bare bones, down to 11, and beating the league champions and waiting, they beat them convincingly in my eyes, and that showed you the potential they had. And then it was just another bad news story of another player leaving that was just dampening it. So the whole time it was sort of in the background, all the negativity and bad stuff which was around the club was just in the background when we were picking up results and going through the rounds in the cup. And I suppose the supporters don't want to be negative the whole time. If you're on a cup run, you don't want to be, slagging off the club, bringing the club down. You're hoping against hope that we can just get through to another cup final. Yeah. And then as soon as that goes, then it just seemed like a win or bust sort of moment this evening, and fortunately looks like we're going to go bust.
It's all right, Pingu. We filled for you till you came back. Don't worry.
Cheers, lads.
There's the type of us. No, we were just saying, Pingu, that it's funny now that this cup run has come to an end. The comments we're seeing tonight is back to Peak 6 out. It's time to get rid of Peak 6. What we had seen before, the run of results kind of had kicked in, and it probably changed that mood around Oriel Park. But as soon as the carrot being dangled in front of us of a day in the Aviva and European football, as soon as that got pulled, it's back to, well, actually, how did we get into this scenario? Oh, it's Peak 6. Right, let's put our anger back to them again. And I was just saying, for next year, if they don't get a potential buyer, it's very hard to see them here for another year and being able to, with the hostility between the fans and Peak 6, I don't know if it's tenable in any way.
Yeah, I think it's just, isn't it? It's like because there's been nothing, you know, when is the last time we've heard that from Peak Six? Like, I don't even know. Like, you know, when Vinny came back to Peak Six, and I think Bill might have had a line or two in the press release then, but, you know, we haven't heard anything at all since then. And
but you know, look, now that you mention that, one thing I meant to say off the back of Jerry's interview was, like, the main reason we got Jerry was the fact that the Supporters Club had to write an open letter to Peak Six and the owners of Dundalk Football Club to say, how come, you know, there is no dialogue with the largest group of supporters in Oriel Park? You know, whatever, not turning up to the meeting. To this day, Jerry said there's still no contact back. Like, that's madness. How they can just blank a supporters club like that, even to come back and just say we're not in a position to meet you guys now. That's something. To just blank them, I just think it's just rude more than anything.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of that McCavitt fella, just rude. But no, you know,
the man sleeping in his car.
Yeah, to give a little bit of credit to Bill, I think he wanted to send out in a letter, and he was going to be live at that first meeting, and it was pulled by lawyers. You know what I mean? So the fella who we all think is the problem was willing to speak with supporters, you know, was willing to open that dialogue, but it's been pushed back. So it's just, from where I'm standing, I would think the fact that the club is for sale, or the fact that it's potentially for sale, because we don't know if it's for sale or not, but if maybe there is stuff going on that we don't know about, you know, maybe things are close to happening, and they're not able to publicly say anything. That's, in my head, that's the only logical explanation for the fact.
But then surely you could come out with a statement back, though. If someone's publicly put out a request for communication like that, surely you can put out your own formal request and say we are unable to currently communicate. And that's something.
They could do that, but then it could be a case, and look, I'm not trying to stick up for them or anything like that, but it could be a case of they can't say literally anything, you know, because it could change the dynamics of a sale. So they might not. I don't know. It could be because of the amount of leaks within the club, you know, at the minute this season, because it seems like there's more leaks than the Titanic coming out of Dundalk FC this season. So it could be something that they're playing very close to their chest. Again, I'm just speculating here, but I personally, I wish they would say something, and I think they should have said something. They should have engaged with the fans. I think, you know, Brendan Ogle, we know, has had that conversation with Bill one-to-one, and said it was quite a good phone call that he had with him, you know. So why can't that happen? You know, why can't there just be that one phone call again and see how things go from there? You know, but it's. I
think even a private conversation needs to just happen, I think
so. I think that's exactly what needs to happen. You know, I know Brendan's out right now, but there's no reason why Bill and Jerry Lennon can't have a phone call, you know, and just to let them know, as you say, just even if it's not even a formal statement saying we can't say anything, that phone call could happen. But then if Jerry isn't allowed to tell anybody, you know, it's all these ifs and buts about what's going on. Like, we don't actually know.
Yeah. I just see someone just ask what Mike Tracy's role is in right now. I think at some times I do feel sorry for Mike Tracy, because I think he's back in a very different Dundalk Football Club to when he was here. I happened to see a video come up from, I think it was the 2017, was it, trophy lift in Oriel Park? Was it 2017 or 18? Can't remember. And Mike was there, and he was, you know, on a microphone speaking to the fans and stuff. And I just thought, wow, we can't even get a phone call anymore from owners. Like, you know, to come from there to where we are now is just, it's an absolute lifetime away.
Yeah, I think, you know, with Mike, one thing to remember is Mike's he's not a Peak Six employee anymore. From what I gather, his role, again, and this is just from the papers, his role is he's facilitating the sale of the club. But I also have heard, and again, this is just speculation, because a lot of what we're hearing is speculation, because nobody's telling any stories.
The problem with lack of communication back to us, that speculation is rife.
Yeah, I had heard that Mike was back in some capacity with Vinny at one point, that he was almost like the go-between between Vinny and Bill. So I don't know how true any of that is, but it's, again, I understand why people are asking, because Mike's name was obviously mentioned in the newspaper article with Paul Lennon the other day. But again, nobody knows. Mike knows what his role is. The people with Peak Six know, what his role is. But again, anything we say about anybody involved in any of this right now would be just speculating.
Yeah, completely. Steph, like, some sort of communication is needed though, surely, because we're reading more in the national press or any sort of these media outlets about more information that we're getting back the club ourselves. Like a formal statement, even from Peak Six, to say we are committing to next year, we're not committing to next year, and that's fine if they're not. Then we all know we're actively for sale, and we'll see some movement. And if players move on, we can kind of hold the hands up and say, well, unfortunately, we're still for sale and we're stuck in kind of in the middle zone. We deal with that. But this lack of any sort of communication is just, it's devastating for everybody, isn't it? Including the players.
Yeah, like nobody can. Yeah, of course. Like, if you're in that situation, you don't know what's happening in the next couple of months of your current club. You're actively looking to get out as well. So they're in an awful position where they've obviously families and kids and mortgages and certain things to look after. Like, so they need a bit of security, and when everyone's just in limbo at the minute, like, nobody knows where to stand. It's just a head-wrecking situation for everyone. It's just I can't understand if they're open and honest. Like, everyone knows where to stand then, and it's not going to do any harm to anybody by coming out and making a statement one way or the other. Whereas you're hearing conflicting stories from different people, and every turn is a different one. You just don't know where it's going to lead to.
Yeah, and I just think that leads to, Chinese whispers and rumors that are rife. I mean, if you ask anybody about the goings on of Oriel Park, you'll get a different story that you just heard 2 minutes ago, or that you heard during the week. Like, they're rife to stories. You could knit about 12 of them together and write a book on it now at this stage. Gents, I think, look, we'll probably at the end of the season is the right time to have a good long discussion about the goings on at Dundalk Football Club when the dust is settled. We know exactly where we lie at the end of the season. Until then, I'm judging by comments for our man of the match competition, and it looks like it's gone one way on this. Steph, did you get to watch the match fully tonight?
I just seen the second half, so I'll reserve my judgment. I'll let you speak.
You did.
Yeah, I'm going to say Boiler. I think he's been, again, over the last few weeks, he's been a bit of an unsung hero, but tonight he kind of kept us in the game, didn't he, a couple of times in the second half before they got the second. So I think definitely I'd be giving it to Boiler.
Yeah, I think he was busting himself, and I think he took one in the gut at one stage in a block as well, which nearly, completely winded him. So, for commitment levels and that as well. So I think Adon seems to have messaged in a fair bit there at the end for our conversation. So Adon Bratnock, congratulations. You were the winner of our 15-inch Tony's Pizzeria pizza. Please tag us on your socials whenever you get it. We always like to see what people put on their pizzas that we're not getting.
Yeah.
Seem to be doing well for that. It's probably more popular than our podcast, lads. People just holding pizzas outside Tony's Pizzeria now.
Some advertisement for Tony's.
Well, this is it. It's all good. Well, look, gents, before we wrap up tonight, we touched on it before, Pingu, of how important Monday will now be. Probably won't mean the game itself. Steph, we were saying, probably won't mean as much the Pats, because the big thing they were looking for was to get to a cup final. They're not going to win the league. Probably won't be up for this game on Monday as much as they were tonight. What do you think for that, though, Steph, for Monday night's game?
Yeah. Look, you could be right there, but look, I don't think we can just expect to get a result.
No.
Like just Stephen O'Donnell's mentality is like I'm sure he's not going to roll over. Like there's going to be no sentiment there. It'll be a tough game again. Like their league form's been hit and miss, but they're still second. Are they second now in the league?
Yeah.
Like they won't catch Rovers. Like, but it's not going to be an easy game up there. And just with our wee dip in form and then getting beaten well tonight, we're back to doom and gloom days, are we?
Once me and you are on, Steph, it gets sad, doesn't it?
Yeah, Jesus. I'm not agreeing to come on till we win again.
Just going to do pre-recorded interviews, lads. I just play them out forever.
Yeah. Pre-record me, and then if we don't win, then just knock me out of
it. Pingu, just the final word on Monday.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be a little bit tighter, isn't it, than it was tonight. I'm sure we'll be set up not to concede. I don't think Pat are going to go for it, as you say, as much as they did tonight. So I can see it being a closer affair, but I still fancy us. I fancy us to maybe win. I'm going to say 1-0. Yeah,
Heron seems to be happy with his pizza, lads. So that worked out.
Come here, can I also say, Chris, I want to say there's a sad house tonight, the McKevitt household, because there's been a child born after every cup final in the McKevitt house, and this year, sorry, it's going to be a dry one.
Jesus Christ, I can't believe he's done that. Yeah, we had to settle for this one. Chewing the legs of me then, yeah.
I've been waiting for the last 20 minutes to say that.
Yeah,
it seems like you had to knock the camera off. You were driving around trying to scribble an idea, was it?
Exactly, I was right.
Yeah, he's usually well gone at this stage, but he hung around just to say that, so fair play.
Well, look, I think we'll leave it at that for tonight. Thanks everybody for joining us and contributing as always. Thanks so much to Jerry Lennon and Brendan Ogle for setting up the interview for us yesterday as well. Steph, thanks for coming in after work, I presume, was it?
No, my son Zach was 6 today, so we had a bit of a
happy
party
birthday
in the
to
house.
Zach then. Jesus, why didn't we end on that part? Should have
one of the many kids, Dean.
Yep.
The cup final babies.
He was the first. He's 6 today, isn't he? He was the first.
No, he's the first. Yeah, first in him. He should have been called Richie Tal.
Oh Jesus! Imagine that now. Well, look, before this goes way off on a tangent, lads. Thanks both of you for coming in tonight. Thanks everyone for your contributions. Is this no Pat's no party now tonight?
I don't know.